Some stories don't just have a twist, they fold in on themselves completely. Today we're diving into Predestination, an action, drama, sci-fi thriller where the hunter, the hunted, and the person telling the story all turn out to be the same person. Spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen it, consider yourself warned. We open in a hallway. A man in a coat and hat carries two briefcases toward a stairwell that leads underground. Down there, he finds a hidden bomb. One of his cases isn't a case at all. It's a device, and he uses it to start disarming the threat. But he's not alone. Another figure is in the building. A gun comes up, a shot rings out, and just as he wrestles the bomb into his gadget to contain it, it detonates early, searing his face, throwing him backward. Through the pain, he claws for his second case. The stranger who ambushed him doesn't finish the job. Instead, he helps the burned man reach it. The two share a long, wordless look, and the stranger walks away. The burned man keys something into the case and vanishes. He wakes up bandaged in a hospital bed. His superiors call his mission a failure, but they also tell him something crucial. The man he was chasing is the elusive Fizzle Bomber, responsible for a string of small attacks that are only a warm-up. The real target, a massive detonation in New York, 1975, one that will kill hundreds. He's told to let it go. He refuses. Months of recovery pass. When the bandages finally come off, the doctor warns him his face, and even his voice, will never be the same. He studies the stranger in the mirror looking back at him, and accepts it. 7 years later, fully healed, he records a voice memo. He's ready for one final mission, the one that will bring the agency closer to its true goal. His superiors arm him, remind him that breaking protocol means death by lethal injection, and hand him back the very case from that first night. He accepts the terms and departs. Undercover as a bartender in a quiet city bar, he waits. A man in a coat and hat walks in and orders a drink. Small talk turns into something deeper. The stranger, it turns out, writes confession stories under a pen name, The Unmarried Mother. The bartender knows the magazines well. Curious why a man reads them, the writer admits something startling. He used to be a woman, and then he starts talking. His story begins on September 13th, 1945. A newborn left on an orphanage doorstep, raised as a girl named Jane. Jane grew up obsessed with the stars, aching over the parents she never knew, and slowly realizing she was different from every other child around her. Sharper, stronger, more self-aware, and because of it, an outsider. She poured herself into math, science, and combat training, certain no one would ever choose her as a daughter, let alone a wife. Years later, a recruiter named Robertson found her. He was scouting exceptional young women for a secretive program called Space Corp. People with no family, no ties, and extraordinary minds. Jane excelled at everything: simulations, endurance trials, written exams. But during a polygraph-style interview, evaluators noted something unusual in her body chemistry. And after a fight with another recruit that Jane won decisively, a doctor's private report to Robertson got her quietly disqualified. She was never told why. Cut loose, Jane took work as a housemaid, discovered confession magazines as an escape, and studied etiquette by night. That's where she met a man in the rain, a stranger who finished a quote she started, as if reading her mind. Charming, wealthy, magnetic. She fell for him hard. He asked her to wait for him on a bench. He never came back. Not long after, Robertson resurfaced and told her the truth. Space Corp wasn't really about space travel. It was a front for a covert agency that corrects catastrophic events, one that recruits people exactly like her. Before she could process it, she discovered she was pregnant, and Robertson disappeared too. She gave birth alone, and the news afterward was staggering. She had both female and male reproductive anatomy. Complications forced doctors to perform a hysterectomy, and over 11 grueling months and 3 surgeries, her body was reconstructed as male. She named her newborn daughter after herself before the baby was stolen right out of the hospital nursery, never to be found. Broken, disqualified for good from Space Corp, she changed her name to John, moved to New York, and became the very writer sitting at this bar. The bartender asks one strange question. If he, could kill the man who ruined everything, would he? Without hesitation, yes. That's when the bartender reveals he already knows John's real name, and that he works for Robertson. He leads John down to a hidden field kit, a genuine time machine, and the two vanish into the past together. They land in Cleveland, 1963. The agent hands John cash, clothes, and a location, explaining that his target may be the Fizzle bomber himself. Killing him, the agent promises, is John's way back into the agency. Alone now, John retraces his own footsteps, and in the rain, bumps into a young woman. It's Jane. He finishes her quote before she can. For a moment, he simply looks at her, tells her she's beautiful, and means it. While that reunion unfolds, the agent slips away, back to his unfinished business with the bomber. A gunfight, a chase through the dark, a brutal exchange of fists that leaves him on the ground. Gunfire in the distance pulls him back to his feet, straight into the moment of his own scarring. His earlier self, burning, and the mysterious rescuer is him. He helps his past self reach the case, watches him vanish, and pockets a fragment of the bomb before jumping away himself, forced to accept that this failure was always going to happen. Meanwhile, John and Jane fall for each other over coffee, trading confessions about feeling superior to everyone around them, and eventually, the loneliest, sharpest people either of them has ever met find comfort in one another. The agent meets Robertson again, hands over the bomb fragment, and confesses his guilt over what's coming for Jane. Robertson is unmoved. This is how the agency creates its most valuable operatives, people erased from their own timeline, with no history but the one they're given. The agent takes Jane's stolen newborn, travels back to September 13, 1945, and leaves her on the orphanage doorstep himself. The loop closes. Back in 1963, John spots the agent and storms over, gun drawn, betrayed. The agent doesn't flinch. He lays it all out. Who Jane becomes, who John already is, who the agent himself really is. It's the same person, 3 times over, caught in an unbroken circle. John looks back at Jane one last time and lets go. At headquarters, Robertson explains the final truth to the agent. The Fizzle bomber wasn't just an enemy. His chaos helped forge the very agency hunting him. Robertson hands over new leads, along with a warning. Once the agent reaches his true endpoint, his field kit will shut down for good. They part ways, and the agent leaves his own recorded memories behind for John to find. He jumps one last time. New York, 1975, months before the bombing that's supposed to kill hundreds. He waits for the kit to decommission. It doesn't. New orders from Robertson are still waiting for him. Find the Fizzle bomber. To pass the time, he buys a typewriter from an antique shop and writes a novel, the story of his entire life. When he finishes it, the truth settles in completely. He is John. He always was. And piecing together every clue the mission has fed him, he reaches a conclusion that turns his stomach. Gun in hand, he walks into a laundromat and comes face to face with an older version of himself. The circle he spent his whole life trying to close was never a circle at all. It was a snake eating its own tail, and he's standing at the exact moment it bites down. That's where we'll leave it. If this recap hooked you the way the film did, you already understand why Predestination is one of the tightest time loop stories ever put to screen.